Welcome to BeingLab. I am Gonzalo Cordova, and it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is titled Responsibility. And what I really care about this topic is that when we learn the distinction of responsibility and its consequences, we can create a better future with the people that we love or work with or we think about collaborating with. And so I hope that these ideas and thoughts resonate with you. And once again, thank you for being here. I am Gonzalo Cordova, and this is BeingLab, conversations that transform the way you see the world. Responsibilities. So let me tell you that a few months ago, I enrolled in a new gym. This gym is part of this university locally here in California and is open to public once you become a member. And this is a brand new facility. They have this phenomenal, absolutely immaculate equipment, amazing technology, top of the line, anything you can imagine, very well lit, fantastic AC, rooms for classes, and not only that, but the gym is situated in this vantage point at the top of the hill where you get phenomenal views. And that's an important key that we're going to talk about in a few moments because it relates to the story I'm telling. But before I say that, two of the things that caught my attention the most is one, the procedures, the rules in the gym is something that everyone's following. This is a new thing for me. I'm used to loud gyms where people scream and, there are speakers everywhere and music is blasting and nothing wrong with that. But I'm trying to contrast that at this gym, the music is extremely low, very discreet, and the use of cell phones is extremely prohibited. And that you can't record or take pictures or use it while you are at the gym. And I think it's critical because it allows you to feel that sense of privacy and freedom while you are there. So those two things off the box, I think, shows you the type of place in which you are enrolled or attending. And to that fact or to that matter, it's important also to remember that as people enroll and people attend and people are part of this, there's a great consciousness in how equipment and things are used and at the gym, that everyone is responsible for putting back the dumbbells or kettlebells or yoga mats back into its place once we clean them. I know this is obvious, but my experience at other gyms has not been the case. So, giving you more context. So if the phone rings, for instance, at other places, people take the call and they're on the phone with you pretty much as they interact with their caller and you're there trying to work out. At this gym, they have designated places for you to talk to your person calling, or even better, leave the gym and let others concentrate on their routine. So again, for me, that's a different way of doing things. And I think it's going to make more and more sense in how this is connected to responsibility. So I can continue giving and talk at length about the things that they offer. For instance, they have phenomenal classes. you can imagine all sorts, from TRX, if you like fitness in one way or another. They have all those. They also have 2 swimming pools, salted water, different temperatures, so you can train at different whatever that is. And the views are on one end of the bay, half part of the Bay Area, which is beautiful on a clear day. And on the other side, you will look at the mountains of the 280 freeway here in California. But also, one of the views, when you are on a treadmill, you get to see the baseball and soccer fields. So keep that in your mind. Now, the context in which people develop the sense of responsibility starts from minute zero since we are born. And that's the place in which our parents and family and friends received us. And that's the context in which we learn to give importance to the rules that we are going to follow through and then become responsible, whether it's personally or professionally or as civilians, as citizens of the world. That's why sometimes there are places where you go visit, countries where throwing out garbage on the street is inconceivable. No one would dare to do that because it's a rule that everyone follows. And this conversation, it's precisely about that, how many times we see our sense of responsibility in a very different way. Now, I'm not criticizing cultures. I am not saying they are right and we are wrong or vice versa. No, I'm just bringing to the forefront the idea that responsibility is something that we cultivate, is something that we learn, is something that we are born with or we did not, or we just weren't exposed to the importance of it. So as I continue, attending the gym, I see more and more that people at the gym are making sure that all the equipment and the areas are pristine. And I am not referring to the staff that works there, although they also do it, but I'm referring to the members of the gym. I'm noticing that we all have to play our part to leave the place in better conditions that we found. And for instance, if one day I decide not to do it, the next person is going to find a messy machine or dirty, which is nasty and uncomfortable. And that is going to create a domino effect, right? A butterfly effect. If I don't do it, they don't do it, and so forth. Well, we don't have to be magicians or have an oracle to understand how the future will unfold when no one follows the rules that, by the way, we are committed to. We are committed the moment we sign an agreement to be members of this gym, of course. So let me continue with my story. So I joined this gym. I love it. It's phenomenal. Part of the university, great views, great, everyone's tending their own business, not interrupting, very quiet. I love that fact. I've never experienced a gym like that. And last week I was there. My workout routine was comprised of some calisthenics, but then I was going to run on a treadmill for a half hour. And the treadmills overlook at the soccer and baseball courts, like I said before. And as I was running, I noticed that there was already a baseball game happening. And I knew that it was the local team versus a visitor's team. The local team dressed in green and the visitors dressed in red. And I have a confession. I have no clue about baseball. When I was a kid, I did practice some baseball, but I consider myself an ignorant. So if you ask me who was winning, who was losing, who was at the bat, how many strikes, how many balls, I have no clue. I have no clue. I have no clue about the ability of the pitchers. Nothing. None. But even though I don't know anything about baseball, one of the things that I do know how to do is to observe. And I believe that's one of my main qualities as a coach and as a person. I am very observant. And as I was observing the game, I was also noticing that a few roles, clear roles, were appearing in front of me. For instance, there was one person that was gathering the equipment that was previously used, like balls and bats and gloves. There was someone else that was offering water and maintaining that area clean and dry. There was clearly a coach that was directing all the players, teenagers. I also noticed there was an area where players were stretching and keeping that area clean and tidy as they were practicing batting or catching or simply stretching. I also noticed that when the team at the bat shifted, the local team was making an effort to keep this clean and tidy, and the sand with their feet were trying to make it smooth so the next team would play, at a level surface. This is a sand and grass feel to the best of my abilities and minimum knowledge. But the moment that caught my attention the most was at the end when the visitor team, the red team, left. And they just left. And please don't ask me who won because I have no idea. But once the other team left, the local team started doing something that is directly connected to responsibility. So they first gathered all their gear, all their equipment, the helmets, the jackets, their bats, gloves, balls, everything they were putting in this bag, like canvas bags, big bags. And they were cleaning those before putting them away. Also, as they were doing that, someone else was in charge of very clear tasks. For instance, once they were done with that, they went to the field, now empty, and they distributed themselves around. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but at the same time, all the audience, the attendees, they left. They got in their cars, they, say goodbyes, and everyone left. And so all the bleachers were empty. Everybody left, besides the players. Now, the players on the field starting to take out brooms and brushes and I would say canvases or, one of those big tarps. And out of this little shed. And from my perspective, it looked like they were going to start cleaning. And so they did. Some of them connected hoses and started spraying the field with water and a little bit on the sand. Some other players starting brushing and brooming the diamond where you would, pitch. I don't know if that's how you call it. Please correct me. But all the bases were getting clean and the pitcher area and the bat area and everything was getting cleaned and broomed and brushed. And then those tarps covered the fields, those areas, and they did it without a single indication from an adult, from a coach, from a parent. They were doing it willy-nilly, just like, this is my task. I know what I'm, supposed to do, and they did. So This is a climax of our conversation, even if it doesn't look or sound like. The question is, how do we achieve? What conversation do we need to have with 28 adolescents so they all collaborate to keep that field tidy? What are the conversations that had to happen so that phenomenal that happens constantly every time they play? So they are all part of that practice. And the most important questions, where in your life you need to have those conversations so that you get your teams, your partners, your family to participate equally in and being responsible without you having to nag them or pressure them or bash them. That caught my attention big time. And that's why I think that there's a sense of responsibility at the gym and on the field from these people that are creating the right context so that both me and those players enjoy the field and the gym equally. So it is really easy to finalize the game and leave home and say, you know what, I'm tired, we win, we lost, who cares, but I'm going. And that's the easiest route. It's more complicated to say, wait a second, my responsibility is whether I won or lost to tidy up. And that's why I started talking about context, because the way in which we create context is what gives meaning to the text. And in relation to responsibility, that's how we guarantee that our team, our partners, our executives collaborate. Family, friends, that's how they understand what the role will be as months and days and years progress in the organization or in the family. The danger we absolutely are guilty of is that we assume that because we're all part of the game, part of the team, and we wear the same green or red shirt, we assume that everyone understands what our responsibilities are. And that's not the case. And in this is a game, but I assure you, there was a talk. There was a very clear conversation from that coach to that team saying, you guys are in charge of keeping this field tidy. Yes, interesting enough, there's a facilities crew. I saw them on golf carts, but guess what? They are not responsible for the field. The players are. And I wish you can translate that to your organization or to your family. No one else is going to come and find the solution for you. You can hire consultants and coaches. They can help you streamline processes. But at the end, if you don't have the ability to practice day in and day out to be responsible or learning to be responsible, nothing is going to happen. Things will continue the same way. Same old, same old. So there are companies who practice beautiful onboarding trainings, and they're great. It works. It works when we have a thorough, clear onboarding process in companies so that employees can learn the culture, can learn the little nuances, the finesse of the culture, the terms, the way in which we speak, the way in which we do meetings. And that's fantastic. This is what we do in Q1, 2, and 3. And that's great. I think that's phenomenal. We all should have that type of onboarding processes, but sometimes we don't. There are companies that they don't have it. And so responsibility is a human phenomenon, is that we only achieve, by the way, like I said before, with clarity and with practices that become recurrent over time. So from day one, we need to inform the person that we're hiring or the person that we are dating or our children or the new player in the team to say, This is how we do things. This is the list of rules in this household. These are the things that this is a big no. This is a big yes here in the company or in the team or at church or whatever that is. Not only that, but we also need to make sure that they understood what we said, the list, the contract. Are you sure that this is clear to you? Because if it isn't, we're going to find ourselves full of surprises that we don't like. And that's very expensive, by the way. Very expensive for companies and for families when we're not on the same page. So the price, the cost of not having the responsibility conversation is really high, costly. And generally, the consequence of that is not only money, but often we lose the relationship with that person. We lose the ability to continue coordinating with them. So I really hope this inspires you to sit down and have clear conversations about responsibilities or responsibility at work, at home, and with yourself. And if you find that it's difficult, that it's challenging, reach out. I'd be delighted to help you and your team to achieve that. Once we put that in place, believe me, things shift in a very different way. And the place where we automatically shift is the culture. The culture of the company becomes more congruent. And that way, actually, we sleep better because we know what to expect from others. Now that there's a promise, a clear promise amongst us. So thank you once again. Thank you for being here. It was a pleasure. Thank you for making the time and tuning in. And thank you for being here. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening, BeingLab. You can follow me on social media at Gonzalo Cordova. Please like and follow. And thank you for being here.